G'day and welcome back to the channel. On this episode, we're back on the YFM225. We're going to start the reassembly process to get it ready to be installed in the bike. As you saw on one of my previous videos, this is the original cover that came off. So right here, hopefully you can see, so where all this putty and stuff is, just here, it had been repaired. Now it is quite thin right here, and that's exactly where we need to repair it. Someone's had a go at this before, and I'm not overly keen to reuse it. There is a lot of elastic, there's a lot of glue around here. There probably doesn't need to be. And this bolt hole as well, it's completely broken. So it's not applying the right correct pressure to be able to hold the cover on. So even though it's just holding a cover on, there is oil moving around behind here. There is some sort of pressure, maybe not a lot, but there is some pressure. So that's gonna cause it to leak. So here's one I prepared earlier. So we're gonna be using this one. Now, it is in significantly better condition than what the original one was. There is a little half moon seal here as well, so we need to make sure that we renew that if it doesn't have one there already. Actually, no, it is on the stator, so what generates the current to charge the battery, I believe. Someone in the comments can probably correct me on that. So that's all good. Everything is intact. Yeah, it is a little bit dirty, but it's fine. So what we're going to be doing is just reassembling everything. We are going to time the engine. We're going to put the front timing cover on the front there. Once that's done, we're then going to tape up any of the open holes, so the inlet and exhaust, the breather that's on the gearbox here, maybe even just a speedo drive cable, and then we're going to take it outside, we're going to degrease it, we're then going to bring it back in, wait for a new seal, because there is a new seal inside here. Yes, this doesn't look like it's been anywhere but the bottom of the ocean for the last 5 years, but it's fine. It's only cosmetic. It's not going to affect the way that the vehicle performs. So there is a seal here as well. So that's what seals on this shaft here. So right here, so you want to make sure that anything that's moving or rotating, if it is a seal that you get on a new part or an old part, make sure it is a brand new seal. Otherwise this thing's going to leak. Once it leaks, you're then going to cause problems down the track, whether it be an easy leak to fix or worst case scenario, one that you have to strip everything back apart. So let's get reassembling, and then we can start on doing the ignition timing.
Cruising in my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into gains. I'm the boss, I'm making change. I've been rocking this exchange, popping off and risking things. Gonna make a fucking name. I just wanna be famous, but I don't want that cheap fame. No, I'm not that vain. I just wanna be greatness. 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 Ain't no motherfucker in this world could do it like me. Open up your eyes and insert a little rising. You don't have to love me, you don't have to like me. Got enough love in myself, in my psyche. You should have the same in your brain nightly. If you wanna taste, bitch, you can fucking try me. If you wanna hate, bitch, you know where to find me. And if you go and hate this, you can fucking bite me. Okay, I'm going off every chance I get. I don't really take a loss, well, I'll admit. That's why I'll make it to the top, yeah, I commit. And no, I'm never getting lost.
Alright, so welcome back. As you saw, I gave it a quick degrease. It come up all right. You know, there's obviously still a little bit of dirt and stuff on there, but that's fine. It's not going to affect the way it performs at all. But when we get it all back together, we'll give it another degrease, because as you can probably see in the chassis, there's heaps of dirt, there's a bit of rust everywhere. So we might just clean all that up before we reassemble all the fenders and stuff. I've got some really good degreaser at work and this stuff eats absolutely anything, so it'd be good to hit it with that. So what we need to do next is the ignition timing. So at the top there is a little plug just here. Not the right tool to get it off with, but it should come out. Okay, cool. So it's got a little screw, so we're just going to remove this. And then on the inside of here that you just saw, before we put this cover back on, there's a big plate. On that plate is some timing marks around the outside, so that's what we're going to use to time it. So I'm pretty sure there's an O-ring inside here, which there is. There's a new O-ring in the VRS kit as well, so we need to make sure that we replace that. If not, we can just get another one. So all we're going to do is just stick the starter adapter plate, whatever this is, just on the end, just so we can turn the engine over. Now, as you can see, the camshaft sprocket is completely loose on the camshaft. So what we're going to do is we're going to time the engine to suit top dead center, and then we're going to time the camshaft. So top of the cutout here, there's going to be some marks. So I'm going to turn it around until some of those marks line up, and then I'll show you exactly where we need it to be. On the top, there is a T for Tango. So we need to make sure that we line it up with the stationary mark, which is just cut out on the inside of here. So I'll bring the camera down in a second. I'll show you guys what we're going to be doing. So that's lined up now. We just got to work out exactly where the camshaft sprocket is sitting and then just adjust it accordingly. So we're just going to pull that off. Now that's not going to fall down in there because the sprocket is obviously bigger than the opening inside here, so it's not going to go anywhere. And because I've got it cable tied with a cable tie to the sprocket, the chain's not going to go anywhere. So just behind here, we're just going to be turning the camshaft just to line it up. Now, on the top here, where my finger is, you can see there's like a little tab sticking out. So you want that to be lining up with this mark that is sitting on the camshaft. So most camshaft timing that you do, whether it be a belt or a chain, they'll generally have marks where you need to line it up with. Now, some cars or even bikes or some engines are free spinning, which means that unless you lock it in position with specific tools, you'll find that if you just loosen off the nut, it won't have a keyway. So the keyway is what locates it and knows exactly where it needs to be. Some cars don't have a keyway whatsoever, so you need to find out where top dead center is for the top of the engine and the bottom of the engine, and then mark it accordingly. It's really handy because then you can adjust it exactly where you want it, but if you get it wrong, you can cause damage. So what we need to do is have that mark lined up with the top. Now it's off by a little bit, probably because the chain needs to be moved maybe a tooth over, which by the look of it, yeah, it probably does. So what we're going to do is cut the cable tie. We're going to then move the chain over one, and then we can reposition the camshaft pulley on the camshaft itself, and then we can time it. It's always a good idea that if you're doing something like this, use cable ties where you can, because it's going to help prevent stuff falling, spinning, dropping. The last thing you want to be doing is taking a chain off, for instance, and dropping it inside the engine and then having to sit there and fish it out. That's pretty much where we need it to be. Alright, so I've got this mark lined up with the notch cut out here. I'm just going to stick the camshaft bolt back in, and we're just going to tighten that by hand. Now remember, there is a tensioner as well. So as the tensioner pushes down on here, it's going to be taking the slack out of the chain. So that's done all the way up now. I'll grab the camera and I'll show you guys where the marks are. Alright, so down in this hole just here, hopefully the light's going to be alright. It's going to be really difficult to see. So there is a mark that has a T on it. That T is where we need it to be. You probably can't see too well because it's a little bit dull. So we're just going to line that up. That's pretty much lined up with where it needs to be now. And then the camshaft as well. Sorry, I'll just get that light. So as you can see, that indicator at the 12 o'clock position, that's lined up with that little notch there as well. So we're pretty much spot on. We're just going to insert the tensioner around this side, pull the pin, and then tighten everything up. Alright, so grab our new tensioner and gasket. That's our gasket there. So be careful we don't destroy it getting it out. And that's our new tensioner as well. Oh sweet, it comes with 2 new bolts, perfect. Oh, sorry, it comes with a new bolt. Oh, that's the securing lock tab for the end of it as well. So from memory, having read through, we need to pull this little pin out once it's in. That then creates the tension in there that we need. Then we just put a bolt in the end just to secure it so nothing is able to enter it. Alright, so all we're going to be doing, because this comes preloaded with what we call a grenade pin, we're going to insert it like this, We're going to tighten it up to the 12 Newton meters, which these bolts are going to be done up to. Then we're just going to pull the pin and then grab our new bolt and our new washer, and that's just going to sit directly in the end there just to seal it. Just slide directly in the end, just on here. 2 8mm bolts, so I'll grab a ratchet in a second, we can do those up. Alright, grab our torque wrench. So you notice a lot of stuff I do, especially when it's building engines, even suspension, brakes, whatever it may be, you want to get in the habit of using a torque wrench as often as you possibly can. That way you can ensure that whatever you've touched, you've done up to the specified torque, and you can guarantee it's not going to come undone unless there's a problem with it already, or you over tighten it to begin with and you re-torque it, or you reuse a bolt that needs to be replaced every time. So the torque wrench only goes down to 20 Newton meters, so I'm just going to grab the 1/4 inch and then we can use that one. Alright, so we've got our torque wrench and we've set it to 12 Newton meters, so let's just nip those up. Double check your work when you're finished. So now that we've done them up, we can pull that little pin out and then we just insert the new washer and the bolt into the end, and then use the torque wrench again and we can tighten that up. Perfect. Alright. Cool, that's done. So now we should be able to turn the engine over and the timing mark should line back up. So you're probably wondering, why am I going further than the standard single revolution? You want to always make sure that you turn the engine over 2 full revolutions before double checking your marks. Now remember, the crankshaft spins 2 to 1 of the camshaft. So the crankshaft is half the size of the cam. So the crank will spin twice to every 1 revolution of the camshaft. So essentially you want to be doing 4 revolutions of the crankshaft to ensure that you've wound the engine over 2 full revolutions. Alright, so double check our timing marks. So it is off just a little bit. We might just be able to fondle it just a little bit down here, see what it's like. Yeah, perfect. Cool, so I just fiddled with that just a little bit. I got the mark lined up with where it needs to be. The top's lined up. So now we just need to replace the gasket that goes on the cover that sits here. We need to pull this back off. We then need to replace the gasket behind the back here. Replace or swap over the magneto off the original one, and then start the reassembly process. We can probably install the engine as well inside the bike and then do the end cover once we get it. So that way we can actually start this thing, you know, going back together rather than just sitting around for another couple of days before we get that seal. The seal itself was like $50. I probably could have measured up and got one, you know, fairly close or similar or even the same size for cheaper price, but it's coming directly from Yamaha, so I can be guaranteed that it's going to be the right one to suit the bike.
Investing in my own stock cause it's faster than any crypto hits go. Let me spend everything that you see is something I invent, and it's only a percent. I'm gonna take shots. If I miss all, forget it. I'll take a fat loss just to learn all that's in it. I'm taking snapshots, learning how to fall and get it. I'm getting back up, always stand tall, don't sweat it. I never back up, I don't miss a thing or regret it. I'm always learning, you could call me academic. I'm always working, never been out.